And this is
Services Committee meeting,
Yeah.
Monday, the 20th, 2023 at 6:03 PM. We have in attendance Dave McNamara, Jason Camara, Madam Mayor Tiffany Souther,
and yourself.
and Councilperson JP Martin. Motion to move forward.
Yeah, good.
So I think most of us just kind of wanted to have this meeting so we could get an idea of what we're doing looking forward. Obviously with you being new, just trying to get an idea of your vision for this particular committee moving forward. Today, Barb and I got out the 2020 trash bid, that just needs adjusted. And then we will proceed moving forward after. I will send it to you for your review to make sure that you're okay with it. What we will do from there is get with Mike Flickinger. We have that new Bid Express, which we will be trying out very soon with another project. So I would like to get the trash bid and the leaf bid all put on Bid Express, to hopefully get some additional bids.
That sounds good.
Once I have the trash bid ready, I'll send it to you. You can send it to the committee, or you can just say, it looks good, we'll get it out to bid. We'll do the advertisements, they actually will help with all of that. There will be a deadline for the bids. Once the bids come in, you will schedule another meeting. Everybody will actually review them together and then decide who to move forward with. So even though we get the bids, Mike Flickinger's gonna get the bids, and there could be a recommendation from Mike or myself or whoever. Ultimately, it is your guys' decision. It's not always the lowest bid. It's not always the best bid. There could be reasons as to why you go one direction or another. I mean, it should be the lowest and best, but
Right.
just because it's the lowest isn't the best, just because it's the best isn't the lowest.
True.
Then we will do the same thing, like I said, with the leaf bid. The ultimate goal is to get these out quicker than we have in the past. There is a little bit of a downside to that. Some of the vendors don't necessarily want to bid on it because gas prices can change. However, if we don't have what we need to move forward, meaning if it's a lot more expensive and we don't have it budgeted for that amount of money, then we put ourselves in a bind trying to appropriate more money or doing those kind of things. So my recommendation is doing this before with the trash and leaf bid is I would prefer to get them out sooner rather than later. That way, there's a lot of residents that do not love that we pass things as an emergency. This is one of those items that never needs to be passed. We know it's coming, we just need to do it. However, we do have vendors that will frown upon that. So those I am working on. I will get both of those to you. My goal is to have them done tomorrow. Doesn't mean we're gonna put it out right away. It just means that we'll talk to Mike to find out in the next probably 30 days getting those out. They get advertised everywhere. So as far as communications goes, you don't really need to do anything. Barb does handle that. She gets it put on the website. She gets it put on all of the different communication points. And then once we get the bids, then we'll come back in here. We'll go over it. You guys will all go over it and then decide. And then you present it to council once you guys have your recommendation as to who you want to move forward with. Typically, since I've been here, we've only gotten 2 trash bids and 2 leaf bids. Where I have a couple people that I do not want to say you can solicit bids because I don't think you can actually do that, but you can let people know where they can find the bids. We have this project out if you're interested in bidding. You can't just go and beg people to do certain things, but you can say this is out there for if somebody is interested in it. So that's that. I think the next thing that I just kind of wanted to see what your guys' plans are. And again, you're gonna take this up from here on forward, is, do you guys want, as far as communications goes, because that's the services part, I'm gonna help you get those done this year, and then the trash bid I'm gonna recommend that we do for 3 years like we did the last time. The leaf bid we have been doing every year, but to save your guys a headache, I mean, you guys could try to find a vendor that would do a leaf bid for 2 years or 3 years. Again, that maybe we put that, we've never done that before.
But it wouldn't.
Maybe it would. So there's some different things we could put in the leaf bid. If you guys have any recommendations, let me know, because we are gonna start putting that together. So as far as services, that part of the services is that. The other part, communications, I don't know what you want to do. Just because somebody in the past has done communications this way doesn't mean you have to do communications this way. And anybody cut in at any point in time, but a lot of it our administration does. As far as getting the messages out there, updating Facebook, updating the message blasts. She has a way that she can do like posts that come up on the weekends. Obviously, she does the food trucks. If there's ever something you guys want to put in the newsletter, you guys are more than welcome to write articles or do any of that. Maybe that's something you want to talk about too. Doing more of like a council corner or something. That it's been tossed around. It's been, there's not a lot of space in the newsletter, so that's part of the issue.
Sounds wonderful.
I have,
Do you have a thought about that?
I have strong feelings about the newsletter, so.
And a lot of people do. So, and the quick background is this. We were separated from MPCA for certain reasons. We got back with MPCA because of the financial burden that for them to do it was very difficult. It was easier if we split the cost. When there were two separate newsletters, people did get a little confused as to why they're now getting two and people would get two. And these were just a little bit of the feedback from some people. They didn't like necessarily getting two different newsletters because they didn't understand why they were getting two. Some then were coming out like once a quarter. Ours was coming out once a month. I will say, as far as I'm concerned, how we move forward with the newsletter, the only recommendation that I will beg for you guys is I want it to be every single month. No matter what we do moving forward, having that, residents are just so used to having it.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that we really get communication that we know every single resident gets. If they choose not to read it, I can't do anything about that. But not everybody has email, not everybody has this or that. This is the one thing that we know that gets delivered to every single person's house. So we know, so my strong feeling, and no, I don't think it should go electronic. Could people do it? The opt-in, opt-out, we have discussed many times.
Be fine.
That also does not, in my opinion, work well. If 1, 2, 3 Black Sycamore moves, how do we know that they moved and the new resident isn't getting it? Because, so again, there are concerns for me as to who would manage that list. So again, now I'm getting way into that.
No, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it would be almost impossible. And then, if 10 people opt out and 10 people move, now you have, it is my way to know that people are getting it. If they want it electronic, great, but you're still gonna get that physical copy. It's however many cents to do it. It's peace of mind for me to know that if there's something important, that hopefully they read it. But as far as how that looks later on, that could be a whole meeting in itself. That you guys could come sit down and talk about, this is the way we want to see, and it could be for January 2024, because the other part to that is, I wouldn't want to leave MPCA high and dry. If we decide to change, I would like to make sure we give them ample time so they can figure out budgetary things as well. The bigger things, that some of the other things that we had done in the most recent, when I first came here, we used to have, and I think it was every single month, we would have like a coffee with council. And that got to the point that the people that were showing up was few and far between, as you guys are fully aware. Most of the time it would be somebody that was upset about one particular thing, and it would be an hour of somebody expressing concern, which is not an issue, but expressing concern for 1 hour about whether it's, it was normally what their neighbor's doing across the street. That then turned into once a quarter that we started doing coffee with council. And that was, again, letting residents come in, and whether it be positive, negative, it didn't have to be negative, but residents could come in and they could just talk to council about any project that was going on or anything. What we did on the opposite 2 weeks were we would have a second work session. Again, we had a lot of projects that were coming up and a lot of projects that were going on. So then we kind of got out of both of those. Don't ask me how, but then we just kind of got out of doing coffee with council and the second work session. It was a new group. That's the easiest way to say it. And did it really hurt or help anything? No, not really, because I would still say the people that came to, even when there was a topic, with the exception of one, there was still only probably less than 5 people. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we did 3. 2 of them had less than 5 people, and one was...
I missed one, yeah.
Yeah, and then one was actually really busy, but as you can see, the outcome of that has been nothing. It was a lot of... scare tactic, in my opinion, and I just said it on a recording. So, so coffee with council is great. I don't see anything wrong with it, but it is an hour or two that is for less than a handful of residents that typically would come. If we could find a way to get more residents involved in something like that, maybe it's worth our while, and go for it.
I would suggest that quarterly would be a better balance rather than monthly. I feel that would be a good balance, because more people would, show up, I think, if it's more of a quarterly event rather than
Right.
oh, that was this Thursday, you know what I mean, or whatever day
Right.
we choose to do it.
I think it helps when we have a topic to discuss.
Yeah.
I do too.
Rather than just, hey, show
Yeah.
up and let's, whatever's on your mind.
Yeah,
kind of
because
thing.
as much as
So
I,
we keep
yeah,
it
Yeah.
focused and directed into actual concerns. And
Yep.
And in my opinion, that would fall more on the communication committee, like, what do we wanna talk about? And putting together, setting the date for it. So again, and I know we have the next meeting in here, but this is kinda like why I wanted to have this. That's something that, as far as communication goes, that is one thing that is council. I mean, council is the one that determines when it is, when, where, how, what do you wanna discuss? Do you wanna limit people to a certain amount of time, depending on what the topic is?
How many
You know,
people?
we have a lot of pool stuff coming up, and maybe there's like I don't wanna say a survey type thing, but, just bringing some people in and trying to get some other residents' ideas. We have our ideas, and that's what you're voted in for. But sometimes people do wanna hear other people's opinions when it comes to, what would you like to see down at the pool? And, some may be anything from, I don't want a slide, I don't want this, and I don't want that, to I want alcohol, I want this, so who knows? I mean, residents can express what they wanna do. There's a lot of topics, I guess, going back to this, there's a lot of topics, I think, moving forward that would be great to get some residential input, moving forward. So that is one thing as far as your committee goes that I think that you would be great at. Calendar, dates, times, you always wanna keep into consideration, obviously, don't do it around a holiday, don't do it around the days that you think people would be most likely to come.
I think 3 times a year is a good enough time to meet.
Yeah, you
especially
don't-
if we have a topic to bring up to
Right.
discuss, but if we
it's
don't.
every 4
then-
months then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that seems like.
Right. So I think that was one of the things that I knew, it was whether or not we wanted to move forward. The other thing that was being talked about, again, I am not advocating for any of this, I'm just trying to remind people and bring it up, and Jason and David, if I'm missing something. There was a talk of doing another survey. I don't know where that landed, I don't know if there is interest, I know that, I believe Eric thinks, it's a great idea to move forward and ask some of those questions. I do believe it's budgeted for still. I think it's, could we use the money towards something else? Yes. Could we use the money towards a survey? Yes. I don't know what you guys wanna do. Somebody has to take hold of it.
Historically, what has the response rate for surveys been? Do we think that it would be
I'm gonna
a truly accurate representation of the overall interest of the village, or are we more likely to get the tiny sliver? I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
Eric believes that, because I actually just heard him say that he thought the survey, our survey got a lot of feedback from, statistically. It's a very small amount, it's always a very small amount, it was a very small amount, but it was a bigger amount than most people's small amounts, I think is kinda how I'm saying it. I view surveys a little different, and my view is normally when people are really upset about something, or they just have that 100% vested interest, your handful of people like myself is gonna fill it out because it's, I know it's important that the residents, or that we fill it out because A, we've spent money on it, B, you want to know everybody's feedback, everybody gets to hear mine all the time, but I know the importance of the whole purpose of why we're doing it. In my opinion, I think it's only as good as the people that fill it out. So again, if you have all these people that are super excited about one project and, they all decide to do it because they want to make sure that project gets done, I mean, it's hard to say. If it lands on the wrong day and somebody throws it away, it's done. So I think the last time we sent out like a card, it had a code on it, it was done that way. So if the husband gets the mail and throws it away, the wife has no way of knowing, or vice versa. The kid gets the mail and my mail lays on the table. So unless I know it's coming, there has to be a lot of communication, making sure that people are
Yeah,
aware
prior to
looking
the send
for it.
out, yeah.
I do not want to downplay the importance of a survey, because I know that there are people that do believe it's very important.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. I would
that
answer if it came to
said-
my mailbox.
Right, that said, I don't believe it's a good representation, because I do believe we have such a mix of everything in this neighborhood, and I just don't know that, the amount of emails that people still have absolutely no idea about the RETA tax is I just think that some people are so disconnected. And I don't wanna say in this village, but in general, I think a lot of people, I mean, maybe if we did a couple TikToks, we could get people to watch it, I don't know. And yes, I'm not kidding.
I am not.
Um,
I am not acting on a Minerva Park TikTok page. I'm just throwing it out there.
I know, but you know what I'm
Little
saying.
dance, little
I
music.
think it's very difficult to get the message to people, even if you put it in the newsletter.
Or in the
because
mailbox directly to that individual.
yeah, so, and they are put in there like that, you know, I don't wanna downplay it, I think that there is, you know, if enough people answer it, but I do know that there was, I would love to have seen, I do not remember the numbers either, but I thought it was very low.
So it'd have to be
for-
multi-step to get more people
Yeah.
kind of prime the pump awareness
But
wise
I
before
don't
we
think you're
send
gonna
it
get
out.
the answers you want without doing it, I
I have a
think,
suggestion. Before we do something, I understand the importance of having a survey, but I think before we do that, I would like to look over the previous survey and
we
then
have
maybe
it.
come up
We
with
have it,
ideas. And then maybe come up with some better ideas to
Better
take that,
questions.
yeah, better, like just in a way to
Well,
make it a little bit better.
and
for
that
everyone.
was-
And I think-
Before we go saying
Yeah.
yes or no on that,
Well, that's,
like,
you're hitting it on the
The-
head, that was the point,
oh,
is,
sorry,
I mean, that process started with Nikki.
okay.
And the survey is not necessarily written by us. There is a professional, we do have a company that we work with or an individual that we work with who specializes in surveys, so.
correct,
these
So they're
are-
helping to write the questions
Correct.
and word them in a way that
I feel like
is good.
but we give them the
Okay,
and maybe I
oh.
should say it this way,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do a certain amount of
what we,
they do a certain amount of like, where do you shop? Where, why, you know, in the village, like questions that we don't, and I think that was the other thing that I would say. There was a lot of tedious questions
Yeah.
about things, like when I did that survey, I will tell you, I was annoyed because it asked so much about the
Yeah.
shopping around here. And we don't have any shops and we're
Right.
never gonna get Starbucks, so why are we asking all of these, the first 15 questions were like
We
that.
can't influence it at all,
we do
really,
that.
so.
we can't?
We can't,
The
like,
shop,
the shops.
No, we don't have
like
the
the
area.
shops, like
Sorry,
we
I'm
can't
forgetting.
say,
I meant-
we can't say, hey, we're gonna give you a tax incentive if, you
If
know,
you
a
bring a Starbucks.
No, no, I'm
Starbucks
sorry.
moves in on this lot over here.
No, we
can't
don't
say
have the
that.
space to do it. There's no
We
geography.
just
that
don't have the
could-
business,
So we
around us.
can direct the questions to,
More-
we can write the questions, but they will fix them to
Yeah.
be more appropriate. So there were police questions.
Okay.
There were, which some people, and again, all in how you wanna do it, because you're going to have somebody disagree with you. So there were police questions on there, there were people that said we shouldn't put police questions on there because people feel like they'll be targeted if they answer the question. And that is a fact, somebody has, there, more than one person had said that.
Weren't they
My
anonymous,
view-
though?
Exactly, but that's just, but my point is if somebody's not gonna fill out a survey because they're gonna be targeted, I don't know that those are the people I'm gearing the survey towards. And I'm not saying because they're crazy, I'm not saying because of that, but if they're not, you answer the question, it just kinda is what it
the
is.
best way for one of these is that it's all handled outside of the village. Like
Correct.
the answers are collected and then they're compiled together. So you're not seeing a person's answers.
You're not.
That you could be like, oh, this
No.
person must,
Yeah.
it's gotta be this person because they answered this, this, and this.
Yeah, you
Correct.
see trends, you see themes,
So-
you
I think
see.
if we ever did, we should have something more pertaining to the village questions and not
absolutely.
like, what do you, cause
So-
if I seen that, I'd be like, this has nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Well, it started out that way, but then it did go into the village. There were police questions, there
Right.
was pool questions, there were,
Right.
there were a lot of green space questions, there were different things. And there was a different temperature then. We didn't have the whole new section.
Right.
So the questions could definitely be geared a lot more towards the future of the pool, the future of, you know, just the streets projects and green space projects. So you can gear them towards what we want to see for the future. You can adjust the questions based on what you want. But as he said, it is a professional company. They get all of the, there was like QR codes or just like, it weren't QR codes, but they were codes. They didn't know who was filling them out. We did not see those responses. We got the raw data that basically says 56 people, 42 people. We never saw anything, and that is accurate because I was on council. I don't remember if you are.
I came in right after that era.
They actually came in and presented during a council meeting as well. There is a, and we will make sure that you get that, and I'm probably not gonna remember, so I'm gonna try to remember. There is a printout of it that can be emailed to you with the data in a nice form of, because I will tell you, one of the questions that was on there, so this is why, full circle, one of the questions that was on there is, how would you like to be communicated from, I don't know exactly how it's worded, but how would you like to be communicated with from Village? And it was email, text, mailers, newsletter, like what was the most important? And email and text were the two top ones. And at the time, we didn't have that. So we
Now,
implemented
of
the
course,
text blast and the email blast. Now,
I like that.
in my
Telegram,
opinion,
smoke signal, you
right.
know.
But in my opinion, once again, we have the text blast and we have the email blast, and I would love to see those numbers much higher because
Right.
for the amount of people that responded to that question, we definitely don't have a lot of people that are being communicated with that way, considering the fact that most people, there might be 2 or 3 people in that household that's getting that same text. And I think there was only like 200 and some, I don't even know if there's that many on emails. And maybe there could possibly be
Right.
quite a bit more. That was a while ago. And it takes time. But that right there tells me that people are not opening their newsletters, that people are not, and some people just, the
Well-
thing that you have to get in your head is some people just don't want to be bothered. They want to come home, they want to
Yeah.
know that everything is, no news is good news. You don't want them coming into the community building because then that means that they're irritated or mad about something. Like a lot of people go to work every day, they come home, and the last thing that they want to do is come to a council meeting because they're mad at X. Having people not show up at these things is kind of positive as long as everybody's showing up to the national night outs and the pools and that kind of thing.
I would say if you can get the survey, do it. I think it would be good to have that
It
information.
can't hurt.
Yeah, because we we budgeted for it, and I think we've already done some of the legwork, so you might as well
Right.
just finish it.
And we would have the contact information that you would,
I'm Jason.
we would just need to get
Jim
to,
Smallberg.
we would just need to get that from probably Eric. Eric would have it. I don't know if Eric has a lot of communication back and forth, but we're still just in the starting stages. But that would be something that you guys would, again, you would set up another meeting and you would go, okay, what are some of the questions that we want to talk about? What are some of the questions that we want to ask in this? Should we ask this? Why are we asking this? Pathways, if that's going to be a question that we want to talk to people about. How important is this to you on a scale of 1 to 5? Is this more important or this? So
What's
it
the
was-
theme? What are we trying to
yeah,
ascertain?
what are we trying to accomplish by doing a survey? Are we just trying to do a survey because it's been 4 years? And what answers are we really looking for? I know Jason has a lot of questions he would like to ask. What do residents really want?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
It is,
I
yeah.
mean,
But can't people
recreation
participate and
wise,
stuff?
what do people wanna see in the pool specifically?
I think we need more playground equipment, but that's just
Yeah.
me, because we got a
I mean-
growing kid population.
There is.
I think so too.
I
And
just-
it's not that terribly expensive. That's
No,
a
it's-
We have the
that's a
space
soapbox
for-
another
yeah,
day.
Right, but we actually do have the space for it.
Yeah.
And then you start talking about some of the other things through the
Right.
village, I mean, for some people, don't take this wrong, but, some of the trees over in like the basketball court, do people wanna see more of them? Do they wanna see,
Right.
whatever? I mean, there are things that we could say, what do you wanna see in this particular green space? Do you wanna see this or do you wanna see this? So, pickleball, how many people are really interested? Because we've talked about it for so long, who knows?
So I'll give you my 2 cents on the newsletter.
Yes.
A newsletter, I like
And
that.
I'm gonna give it to you in just 2 cents. So,
Yeah.
I think the village needs to own it and MPCA needs to be a part of it. Right
like
now, MPCA owns it and we just send them our stuff and they kind of take it off our hands. But it is an official communication of the village and we are handing it over to a non-official
An unelected
entity
body.
of the village.
And that's been a battle for years.
So I think that role needs to reverse. And I just think in general, we have ways of making it better.
If we can make it anything better, we should
Colors.
always,
I think
Prettier,
color,
yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think color, even adding
I
some
agree.
QR codes that flash people to,
I love,
webpage
I
and
love
stuff
that
like
idea.
that, so-
The QR code, that's a really,
they're
people-
becoming more popular,
that is.
people know them because
I
we
know.
used them
Yeah.
so much during
Yeah.
COVID.
wonderful
Yeah.
job with that.
Yeah.
And I'll
so,
also suggest we keep it at the once a month basis.
I do too, yeah.
I have an
agree
idea
with that
about the, that's it.
Okay.
We come up with if we do the survey, council will get together, we'll think of the more specific ideas pertaining to that year, right? And then, what about if we had a QR sent out in an email?
To do the survey?
Yeah, that way you're not actually sending things out, people look at it, if you're getting the text and you're getting
Yeah,
that, you're more
I don't
likely
know.
to see
I
it.
think I think.
Just an idea,
What
just-
I
we're
would
just
do,
jotting
have that
down.
conversation with the
Right.
person that's
The
developing
question
it.
is, or
Because
the,
then he'll be able to say, this is how you get the most response.
Correct.
Because this is what he does for a living.
Gotcha.
and it's about getting the most response, and it's about somebody, not that somebody's gonna do it, but if you really have somebody upset about one particular, you don't want them filling out the survey 5 times.
Right.
So you do have to make sure that it's one per
Right.
household,
Right.
and maybe it's not, maybe it's, a husband can do, like both spouses can do it. So, do you wanna make sure that it's 18 and over? I mean, Taylor could come and do mine just because she wants to. So there is definitely there are the professionals, so we would wanna make sure that we do it, if we're gonna pay for it, let's do it the right way,
Fair
because
way,
we wanna
yeah.
make sure that we get the most response, and we also get it from each individual house as possible, like whether it is one per household or, because again, if 2 people live in the house, they might have 2 totally different opinions. So you don't wanna exclude, say it in my house, you have Reese and then you have myself, we may not agree 100% on everything. And something that's more important to him may not be for me, so, do you allow just one? So, they're the professionals, that's what they're there for. So I would say from here, since we'll start that here in a couple minutes, I think we're waiting for a couple more people, but, I think that was the 2 biggest things that I kinda wanted to talk about was the little bit of service and then obviously the communications, just to give you an idea of, these are the things that were left.
My committee's here, by the way.
Exactly, so yeah, everybody's here. So, hey, and I gotta talk to you before you leave too. So I think it's just a matter of getting some dates if we wanna do like the coffee with council, and then moving forward on whether or not we wanna move forward on the survey, we can get an email address from Eric, and then just kinda go from there.
I'm gonna check some dates and can I get back to you?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're not doing that now.
Okay.
No, absolutely, alright,
Then you discuss next steps, and then you make a motion to, adjourn.
so here you go.
Any next steps?
Yeah, we'll talk to Eric.
Yeah,
All right,
Motion to adjourn,
second,
all
There we
those in
go.
favor?
meeting adjourned?
yep,
There we go.
Good enough.
perfect.